Hello. This needs to be said. So, it attracted world news was the fire at Notre Dame. One of the features of Notre Dame and these Gothic cathedrals was these vaulted ceilings. Now, they're an architectural marvel. They're so important to the building. Now, also, what's the feature of these great cathedrals is that they have very thin walls and many windows to allow in light. But also because of a stained glass window, the effect of the light is one of the essential elements of the building, but also the vaulted ceiling gives it acoustic qualities. If you remove the vaulted ceilings of these cathedrals, you destroy them. It is an act of utter vandalism, barbarianism at its height. Now, another example, the beauty of these and the power of the stained glass windows separates them from the world outside. Now, they're a little bit darker from the world outside, but they're still embedded in light. There is the greatest vandalism of the Notre Dame Cathedral is not the fire, it is what's about to happen to it as is being proposed. And this needs to be said. So with the fire, some parts of the vaulted ceilings collapsed. It's going to take very skilled masons to repair this. Very, very skilled. But the purpose of the vaulted ceilings, because in medieval times fires were common. So above the vaulted ceiling you would have a timber frame and usually with a copper roof on top, or maybe lead, various roofing materials. But the purpose of the vaulted ceiling was to protect the cathedral from fire. So the roof could catch on fire, but it would protect the cathedral below. And the vaulted ceilings worked very well. Now, there were some parts of the vaulted ceilings here of Notre Dame have collapsed. This is Chartres Cathedral. There was a fire there, and I think in the 20s or the 30s, they replaced the timber frames with cast iron. And to their credit, even though they replaced timber with iron, which was a good move to protect from fire, they still retained the beauty, the essence of these particular buildings. Here's an aerial shot post-fire, and you can see that most of the vaulted ceilings have remained intact. Some places have collapsed, but the vaulted ceilings did their job. So here we see some part collapse, some part collapse. I'm not sure if the central underneath the spire collapsed as well, but the vast majority of the vaulted ceiling remains intact. This is the Millau Viaduct in France by Norman Foster. Norman Foster, I've done videos on him. He's a hermeticist. The buildings that he does are embedded with measurement, and these ancient secret measurements, without a doubt. Now, here is there was a competition has been announced for the redesign of Notre Dame, and this is the design by Norman Foster, and it is an act of the highest vandalism because, for instance, the glass roof would allow natural light to illuminate the space below. You've already destroyed the purpose of the cathedral with this, because you would destroy if you flood it with natural light as a skylight, then the power and the beauty of the stained glass would be destroyed. It would be drowned out by that light. You would also destroy the acoustic properties of it as well. But also, to flood the cathedral with natural light, you would have to destroy the vaulted ceilings or allow these few, because of the actual destruction that's happened, there will be a few spaces left open. So what's the plan here? This is barbarianism. Norman Foster has here's another ridiculous design for this, but Norman Foster's architecture has one speed. There's nothing to, I like the measures, I like that he puts that in there, but when it comes to the design, he might be a rock star architect, but he doesn't understand architecture. He has one speed. All his buildings are steel and glass. They have no subtlety, they have no beauty. It's just the same boring old pattern just repeated over and over again. He doesn't understand beauty. He just does the same stupid design over and over again, slightly removed each time. He has one speed. He's a one-dimensional character. He doesn't understand the architecture. Reichstag's building, he put a glass and steel dome on the top. Oh, how imaginative, Mr. Foster, you bloody hack. He's a postmodernist, brutalist, architect who only understands shit in a can. He doesn't understand how to do anything of beauty. Here's an example of postmodernist architecture, brutalist architecture. It is crap. It's like, here is Ionic, classical beauty, the classical proportions, and here is a postmodernist crap. It's an objective fact, you know, like maybe we could say, okay, maybe it is, okay, technically it's subjective, but this design would require, to allow light to illuminate the space below, you would destroy the acoustic properties of the building, you would destroy the wonderful light that comes in from the stained glass window. This is an act of extreme vandalism. Better just to destroy the whole thing and turn it into a glass and steel monstrosity than to attach this ridiculous, unbalanced, ugly, modern piece of crap on top of Notre Dame Cathedral. Just destroy it. Just get rid of it, because if you're going to do something like this, you're going to ruin the building. And so vaulted ceilings have a purpose. We need to lock up Norman Foster. We need to lock up Libeskind and all these other hopeless architects who don't understand beauty. They don't understand acoustics. They only understand glass and steel. They have no imagination. They're great at working out how much weight can be supported on a computer. They're great at plugging values into a computer, but they have no understanding of the inherent sacredness of this architecture. They don't understand the value of having the vaulted ceiling. It's not just about protecting it from fire. Because the space is darker, the beautiful colors of the stained glass are integral to it. If you put up a steel and glass monstrosity, you're going to ruin the stained glass effect. If you put up a steel and glass monstrosity, you're going to ruin the acoustic effects. There is this postmodernist movement to destroy sacred spaces. They don't understand meaning. They don't understand depth. They only understand modernist, whatever that the hell that means. The greatest destruction of Chartres Cathedral is not going to come from the fire. It's going to come from Mr. Foster and all these other useless postmodernist, brutalist architects who simply don't understand how this architecture works. This is a travesty. This is a crime. This cannot be allowed to happen. The 5-year plan that was announced for the reconstruction of it is a crime in itself. You can't train up the carpenters. You can't train up the mate. There are a very small group of traditional carpenters and masons who still practice the ancient crafts. They're going to need years to train up the crew to replace the building. It cannot be done in 5 years. To even suggest it can be done in 5 years is ignorant. And I mean that, like, not being, because I'm a bit hushed, pissed off about this, but it is ignorance on the highest level to suggest it can be done in 5 years, because they just ain't the tradespeople. They need to be trained up. These things need to be done properly. They need to be done with a sense of sacredness, and this is what's being lost. There is a movement, the postmodernist, brutalist architects is literally a movement to destroy the sacred. It is to make people feel small. They abhor the sacredness of things, and like Frank Gehry, he's very popular, but it's crap what he does. Let's be frank about that. It is ugliness, using the ugliest of modern materials, which is steel, glass, or in Frank Gehry's case, chain link wire. I mean, that is the most ugly material that's probably ever been invented in the history of humankind, and to incorporate that into architecture is a travesty. So however popular they might be, however well respected and well funded they might be, these modernists, and brutalist is actually the name of this architectural movement as well. It's brutal. It literally is brutal. It is to destroy and to make people feel insignificant, to ruin anything, to destroy any sense of sacredness. Here's the original Hurst building. It's imposing, but there is depth to it. There is a sacredness to it. There is a meaning to it. There is a depth to it in regards to the ornamentation. And then Mr. Foster put this disgusting monstrosity on top of it. And I like, it's got numbers embedded into it, and the thing with Ian Pay and Norman Foster, they will deny till they're red in the face that they're engaged in this type of hermeticism, but they are, because they repeat it. The buildings that they've even built in the future is based on these numbers. So I tip of a hat into that regard. But in terms of design and aesthetics, this is friggin' ugly. It's an abomination. These type of build. It's just steel and glass. It's always steel and glass, and it's the same pattern. So this is a proposed building in, is it in Russia? I forget the exact city. Well, again, you can predict the height. It's 1480 feet, the predicted height, which is a cathedral measurement. So 148 feet is another repeated measurement. So he's working in that sense. Yes, you're right on that sense. But these buildings are, they belong in a science fiction movie. They don't belong in a human world. Again, the Reichstag, Kronfin columns, all this lovely architecture, and then you put this steel and glass ridiculous, what is that? What are these? What's going on with these things? It's part of a movement. It's shit in a can. That's what it is. It's shit in a can, and this is another. Postmodernism is disgusting. These architects do not understand the principles behind this, and well, actually, they do. So, okay, there's Norman Foster's building, the Deutsche Bank building here in Sydney. Here is the library. Ionic columns. Okay, but that's projected here. Ugly buildings. It's like, I'm so clever. I'm postmodernist. No, you're useless, mate. Come on. This is a crime. This needs to be stopped. If this has happened, just bulldoze the whole friggin' thing. Just get rid of it, because it's like attaching a satellite dish on top of a Model T Ford. It doesn't belong there. It doesn't suit there. And not only that, the only way to incorporate this and to allow natural light to illuminate the space below is to create another act of vandalism and to remove the surviving vaulted roofs. A crime. That's a crime. There is no excuse for this. It is a crime. Any brutalist, postmodernist architect needs to be put in confinement until someone who knows what they're talking about, John James or these other architects who understand Gothic architecture, need to be put in place. Mr. Foster, we've got to lock these people away until it's rebuilt. There is no other way to it. The biggest crime to Notre Dame is to allow brutalist, postmodernist, modernist architects to even get within 200 feet of this building. There should be a military perimeter around that to stop any people like Norman Foster even looking at it. They shouldn't even be allowed in the city. They should be expelled from the city of Paris until this is sorted out. And it's not going to be repaired in 5 years. It would take longer to train the artisans and craftsmen that you need to do that. So this 5-year plan is a travesty in itself. This needs to be stopped. This is a crime. This is a crime against humanity. UNESCO or someone needs to step in and lock these people up until this issue is sorted out. This cannot be allowed to happen. This is a destruction, vandalism. Only Philistines could come up with this. It needs to be stopped.